The High Line is an elevated linear park, a mile and a half long, created on former railroad tracks on the west side of Manhattan. The High Line has become one of the most popular attractions in New York City. It's amazing. Originally, it was planned as a neighborhood park because Chelsea doesn't have much in the way of parks, and now it attracts visitors from all over the world, and New Yorkers love it as well. We'll take you on a walk from start to finish, a mile and a half, from the Whitney Museum up to Hudson Yards. At the south end on Gansevoort Street, you clearly see the elevated structure beginning, where a gentle staircase leads you up into another world, an elevated park that lets you glide over the city. These entrances provide a physical and symbolic transition from the urban to the rural. Up here, you feel like you're out in a country meadow. Starting in the meatpacking district, the park runs from Gansevoort Street, located 3 blocks south of 14th Street, all the way through Chelsea to the northern edge of Hudson Yards on 34th Street. The park begins at the south end near the Whitney Museum, designed by Renzo Piano and opened in the year 2015. We've brought you inside the Whitney in other movies in our series. From the upper terraces of the museum, you have a lovely view looking down at the High Line, and you can see where it goes underneath a building right away. We'll walk under that building after passing through a grove of mixed species of birch. It's called the Gansevoort Woodland and provides some welcome shade on a sunny day. Our route passes underneath the standard High Line Hotel at 13th Street. It was the first modern building conceived specifically with the High Line in mind and became an instant landmark. It was built by hotel developer Andre Balaz, owner of the Chateau Marmont in Los Angeles and many other hotels. The Standard has 337 rooms, an excellent restaurant, and the famous rooftop bar, the Boom Boom Room, making it one of the most visited stops on the High Line. The High Line also features special exhibits of art such as the ceramic archways by Sam Falls and other sculpture you'll see along the way. These 4 gates with their painted flowers were inspired by a combination of Impressionism and the stark modernism of the buildings all around the High Line. The walkway continues north 23 blocks all the way up to 34th Street and the Hudson Yard terminus. Chelsea's located between 14th Street and 34th Street, between the Hudson River and about 6th Avenue. It's just about 1 mile south of Times Square, which puts it pretty close to Midtown, and yet it is a world apart. There are many places to sit down and relax along the way on weather-resistant, repurposed wood furniture, encouraging you to take your time and enjoy the passing parade of people. We'll soon be approaching a very large brick building. It had been the headquarters of the Nabisco National Biscuit Company back in the early 20th century, famous for making Oreo cookies and saltines here in what had been considered the largest bakery in the country. The High Line passes right through the building's 10th Avenue side. This allowed freight trains on these formerly elevated tracks to enter directly within the building itself. This classic old photograph shows the same location with the train making its delivery. Now called the Chelsea Market Passage, which was the only place I saw vendors with their tables set up with things to sell, including some original artworks. In the summertime, there are some refreshment stands set up. There's a staircase just beyond that can take you down to street level where you can enter the Chelsea Market. Chelsea Market is a collection of restaurants and a shopping mall occupying an entire block, offering dozens of great places to eat and many exciting retail outlets. The building is now owned by Google, which occupies the upper floors for their offices. It's an ideal place for lunch or a snack, a little shopping, and then back up the steps and continue on your way. The tracks connected directly into factories and warehouses, allowing trains to load and unload inside the buildings. Milk, meat, produce, and raw and manufactured goods could be transported and unloaded without disturbing street traffic. This large open plaza is the 10th Avenue Square that's connected to an amphitheater on the viaduct. It's at 17th Street where the High Line crosses over 10th Avenue with an overlook that provides views of the street from a window placed in the space created by removing the structure's steel beams. The entertainment here is watching the cars drive by up 10th Avenue. The High Line was designed to go through the center of blocks rather than over an avenue. As a result, the viaduct's construction required the demolition of 640 buildings. The various staircase entrances also provide an extended viewing platform for looking down on the streets below, such as here at 20th Street. The General Theological Seminary is the oldest Episcopal seminary in the United States and has been partially converted into a deluxe hotel, while its remaining campus continues its church and seminary functions. The grounds are open to the public, so it makes an interesting detour while you're up on the High Line to have a little look around in the neighborhood. It stands out from the rest of modern downtown Manhattan as one of the oldest building complexes in the area, complete with a park-like courtyard and services open to the public. There are many such detours into neighborhoods that you can take while walking along the High Line. Then it's easy to go right back up those steps again. You'll notice there are some basic rules of behavior to keep the scene peaceful, showing consideration for others and for the environment. No picking flowers. Walking back up the steps at 20th Street, we notice a very high-tech parking structure. It's the Edison Park Fest. Cars and elevators, convenient parking if you drove to the High Line. There is a fascinating history behind this viaduct. Way back in 1847, New York authorized construction of railroad tracks on 10th and 11th Avenues on Manhattan's west side. These tracks were at street level and used by New York Central Railroad's freight trains, which delivered commodities such as coal, dairy, products, and beef to the neighborhood factories and warehouses. However, mixing trains and traffic at street level proved to be very dangerous. Injuries here, from trains colliding into motor vehicles. In 1929, the government and New York Central agreed to build an elevated viaduct for the train tracks, which eliminated 105 street-level railroad crossings. The first train on the High Line Viaduct ran along the structure in 1933. There are some vantage points where you can look back at the elevated structure itself. You can clearly see the massive steel viaduct. Another example of the temporary art installations, this sculpture looks like an abandoned piece of broken old brick building, a symbol of this neighborhood under transition. The recycling of the rail line into an urban park and tourist attraction has revitalized the Lower West Side, which had become gritty and in generally poor condition during the late 20th century. And now there's been a tremendous stimulation of real estate development in the neighborhoods along the line, with some 40 projects planned or in construction. But the real estate boom has also created problems. Many established businesses in West Chelsea have closed due to the loss of their neighborhood customer base or rent increases. Apartments located near the High Line are on average more than twice as costly as those located 2 blocks east. This new Chelsea has been criticized as being touristic and overpriced. And yet some exciting contemporary architecture is being developed here, thanks to the deep pockets of New York developers and creative talents of the global architectural community. A recent example is HL23, High Line at 23rd Street, a metallic curving building that gets wider as it goes up. This design allows it to lean over its namesake, the High Line. The IAC building was designed by Frank Gehry for Barry Diller's Media Empire. 520 West 28th Street is the only project in New York designed by the late Zaha Hadid, a British-Iraqi architect. with her signature elements of a design based on graceful curves inspired by nature. It's got 39 apartments and a 75-foot skylit pool, private theater, and a garden with a statue of a leaping rabbit. An example of a classic older structure nearby is the London Terrace Towers between 23rd and 24th Street. It was built from 1929 to 1934 and consists of over 1,700 apartments in 14 connected buildings occupying the entire city block. Considered the largest apartment complex in the world when completed. It's actually 2 rows of connected buildings flanking a block-long private garden in the middle. With it, the population of the block increased from 400 to 5,000 people. Some famous residents have included Chelsea Clinton, Malcolm Gladwell, Debbie Harry, Catherine Keener, Annie Leibovitz, Susan Sontag, and Bill Hader. There are still quite a few older brick buildings along the High Line, although it is being transformed into a futuristic city of steel and mirrored glass. We'll show an extreme example of that coming up in a moment at the end of our walk at Hudson Yards. One of the popular places to relax are the seating steps at the 23rd Street lawn, providing a theatrical touch. The video seen so far was photographed during the month of March, but I also visited during May when it was a lot warmer and the grass was greener, the flowers were blooming. And while we watch that video collage, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the history of the High Line. It first opened as a park in 2009, and a tremendous amount of work went into making that happen. Train traffic ran on the viaduct from 1933 to 1980, and when the train traffic ended, a group of property owners with land under the line lobbied for demolition of the entire structure. They considered it an eyesore, and the administration of Mayor Rudy Giuliani agreed and planned to demolish the structure. But fortunately, government gridlock and various lawsuits prevented anything from happening for the next 10 years. Don Giovanni Restaurant, next to the High Line at 23rd Street, is an excellent place for fresh pasta and pizza. During the 1990s, the elevated platform was a playground for some urban explorers and local residents who would sneak in to enjoy this wild meadow of drought-tolerant grasses and shrubs and rugged trees that had sprung up. Creation and maintenance of this park involved a lot of effort by many people. 2 particular heroes got together, Joshua David and Robert Hammond, and they were determined to protect this area and turn it into a public park. They formed a nonprofit organization, Friends of the High Line, and began fundraising and public awareness campaigns. That was the beginning of an extraordinary effort against all odds of 2 ordinary citizens taking on New York City's government and powerful property owners who wanted to rip it down. Their Friends of the High Line succeeded and is still responsible for operating and maintaining with an annual budget of $11.5 million. Over 90% of their budget comes from private donations, which supports a paid staff and many volunteer helpers. The Friends have an excellent website filled with more information with photos and blogs and all sorts of tips to help you navigate the High Line. 2 other important players were Barry Diller and his fashion design wife, Diane von Furstenberg, who were the first major financial backers, and along with Ed Norton and Martha Stewart and others, drummed up public support with eventually 10,000 people contributing. Then Mayor Bloomberg was also instrumental in getting the political machinery to make it happen. We have arrived at the end of the line. The northernmost spur enters Hudson Yards, and the first thing you'll see is the Shed. It's a large entertainment complex under construction. Then when I came back 2 years later, it was finished. I'll be showing you some more before and after shots coming right up. The Shed is a large movable structure designed for entertainment and art exhibits. The entire building can slide on large wheels and the walls go up so it can be an open-air venue. Here's how Hudson Yards looked in 2018 while the skyscraper towers were still under construction, with railroad tracks out in front. By 2020, work on the main towers was finished and the buildings are open for business. One of the fun attractions here is called Vessel. It's a staircase sculpture about 150 feet high, and you can walk up it. Free admission, just make a reservation ahead of time, which you can do on their website, as we've shown you in a separate movie all about the vessel you can find in our collection. There's also a glitzy upscale shopping mall here in Hudson Yards that might provide some retail therapy after your long walk. When finished with your Highline experience, it's very easy to get out of here. There's the 34th Street station for the number 7 subway line that will take you directly to Times Square in one stop. And there's another subway station at the south end of the High Line at 14th Street and 8th Avenue. So it's quite accessible by public transit. We have videos about the Chelsea Market and other parts of Manhattan you can find in our collection, including Midtown, Chinatown, Times Square, the Village, the museums, and much more. We frequently upload new movies, so please subscribe to our channel and click that little alarm bell so you'll be notified. And if you enjoyed the movie, how about a thumbs up? And we always welcome comments down below. Or if you have questions about the destination, make note and we'll answer them. Thanks for watching.